As much as my over 35 years of helping humanity, I still cry when I see someone suffering. Even though I'm aware of deeper truths, I'm not saying that I don't know that there's a reason behind everything that is happening to or for us. My heart still feels and bleeds empathy, compassion, the desire to remove the suffering of one of my fellow brothers and sisters. And it doesn't matter what color skin you're in. It doesn't matter your religiosity, your religious belief. It doesn't matter your political party. You're still God's creation. And since we all came from that same source, I cry for you. And I do wonder, I was thinking about this for myself today because our branch in LA is helping victims, and I've called and reached out to a lot of my friends that have been affected, and I've informed them that do not hesitate to ask me for whatever you need. I'll make sure that it comes to you, and so I've been able to support that for them, whatever they needed at this time. And I don't want to go into any blame of anybody. I have kind of discontinued indulging in news for quite some time. And I just happened to be watching a little bit, maybe 10, 15 minutes. And within that, I was overhearing commentaries about blaming political leaders and this is this. And I don't think it's time for any of that. Right now, our brothers and sisters need emotional support. And just like how you can see something on television that has a lot of joy and it makes you laugh, even though it's not physically connected to you, you do believe that if you have thoughts of well wishes for your fellow man, that they're going to feel it, right? Happy, our service animal, if anybody is sad, I automatically see that dog go right next to that person and just, the person hasn't said a thing, but Happy has felt their vibrations, and she automatically goes to you to give you support. And I've seen her do that again and again, and I'm saying to myself and to you, we're the same, we feel each other. And so if anyone is suffering or celebrating, I have the capacity to feel it, right? And so what I'd like to do before we open up with Dr. Amita for her presentation, could you join me in kind of blowing out the fire? I wake up every morning at 3, 4 o'clock. It's my discipline. And 2 mornings ago, I was almost smirking at myself, wondering, what am I doing? It's 3:30 in the morning. I'm sitting in my meditation space. And the only thing I could do was to remember Superman, how he had those superpowers that he could just and out of fire. And I know it seems a little funny, but I just felt that's all I could do right now. And so in my morning meditation, I just went, and it was almost like I was just visualizing myself helping to just subside the flames. And so I'm just asking you to think in whatever way your thoughts, you feel your thoughts and your feelings can either help to overcome the fear and the grief that our citizens are going through, or just out the flames. So just take this time with me. Close your eyes and take a deep breath. Visualize the region. And whatever you want to do with your feelings, whether it's serving the feeling of despair and grief and loss, and just sending the thought, I know it's a difficult time, And maybe this is just our new beginning. And maybe this test is simply the opening for a new beginning. And even if you wish to just feel that all of us here collectively are just reducing the flames. It's like you're blanketing the area with peace. Cool peace. It's just new beginnings. Keep your eyes closed, and the Om Shanti song that's going to be played for you, it is specially designed with a kind of frequency to put you into a deeper place of peace. Just keep spreading the vibrations around the area. Keep feeling that the vibrations are spreading over the area. It's just clearing it out. It's creating cool. Very cool energy. Very cool energy. And as we prepare for our special guest and friend, Amita Jain is a doctor of Ayurveda, a certified Hatha Yoga instructor and founder of the Vedic Health and Vedic Yoga in Rockville, Maryland. She founded it in 2017. Very deeply committed to offer affordable alternative health care to our citizens in the area. And just imagine if you opened up your life because you really want to help people. So her offering for the underserved communities, individuals that cannot sometimes afford the luxury of better health. She's been practicing Ayurveda and yoga for over 20 years now. And her degree is a doctorate of Ayurveda from Sai Ayurvedic College with clinical training from Swatiyam Ayurvedic Hospice in Kanmar, Kerala. She's got an undergraduate degree as well in systems engineering from the University of Virginia. Who you're about to spend the next hour and a half with. Dr. Jain is somebody who helped hundreds of people. She's helped them to heal their debilitating illness. She's taught thousands of students in yoga and Ayurveda. She's given numerous lectures as well, ranging from corporations, conferences, faith organizations. But what I've come to learn is that her primary focus is working to help eradicate chronic diseases, chronic health issues, where we struggle to believe Western medicine is actually making us better. So just imagine today, it's your spiritual, mental, and physical well-being. The questionnaire that you've gotten, fill it out, and she will come on the stage within a minute to join you for the rest of the afternoon. I've always been fascinated how we spend 24/7 with ourselves and we don't know how to take care of our health or mental well-being. And so we need teachers, helpers, supporters, individuals who have walked the path, who are deeply inspired and committed. And so today you're in a space to receive support and make your mind more peaceful, make your body healthier. Give a big heartfelt applause for her time and energy as we welcome Dr. Jain. So we welcome you to the Meditation Museum, and I deeply want to thank you for offering this service to us and to the community.
Thank you.
And lots of good wishes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Well, it's indeed very special for me to be here because I have been hearing about Sister Jenna and the Brahma Kumari's organization for many, many years. I've always had a pull to come, and somehow Antonia invited me, and now I'm here. So I feel very blessed to be amongst your presence and the other sisters and all of you as well. So just a little bit about how I got into Ayurveda. It was years ago when I was a teenager. I became very frustrated with how the conventional medical community was handling the case of my own father. At the time, I was just older teenager, and he was in his late 40s, and he was having kidney failure, genetically passed down. His father had died of kidney disease, and he had a 25% kidney function. So we went to the doctors, and they said, basically, you're just going to wait until the kidney dies, and then when you're less than 10% function, you will either go on dialysis or have a transplant. So of course our questions were, well, what can we do to preserve the remaining kidney function or to strengthen the kidneys? So the consistent answer we got was, well, there's no way to strengthen the kidney function. It's just not possible, and there's no way to stop the progression. So you're just going to wait, and you have a maximum of 3 years. So they were convinced that within 3 years, he would need a transplant or go on dialysis. So I didn't accept that, and I had already been reading about Ayurveda at that point. So I did some more research and reading, and my dad and I decided to go on our own plan and take matters into our own hand. Well, to make a long story short, he went 25 years with that kidney before he needed a transplant. It was finally given 5 years ago by my brother. And today he's a thriving 82-year-old does a lot of meditation and yoga, and and so through that, well, let's fast forward now, 2015. After that incident, I had gone to India, and I stayed in an ashram, did my studies in yoga and Ayurveda. But then I joined my family business. And fast forward now, my husband and I worked together, and he was starting to notice that there were more people at my office to get health advice than to build houses with us. We were in the construction business. So he said, listen, you seems like the community needs this help, so why don't you go and help? I'm going to give you an office of mine, an empty office, and just sit there and help whoever comes to you. And I said, well, that's fine, but I can't have my foot in the door in the construction business and then try to help people. I need my mind in one place. So he said, no, okay, we agreed. I'm going to do this. So I'm packing up my office to move across the hall, and I said, okay, God, I need a sign that I'm really doing the right thing, because I have to hand over this business all to my husband. And I need some kind of sign. And I waited about 30 seconds, and my phone rang. And it was this woman panicking on the phone. She had a thick Russian accent, and she said, I'm having a panic attack. I'm having so much anxiety. I need to come see you, and I need to come see you right now. And I had never advertised my phone number. I don't know where she got my number. But anyway, I took that as a sign, and I said, okay, God, I got you. And Olga, I got you too. You can come in tomorrow because I'm moving today. So that one thing led to another. What I'm going to talk to you about today is energy and vitality. This is something applicable to all of us, because there will be time periods in our life when we experience low energy, we experience fatigue, we experience anxiety, we might have low motivation, less enthusiasm, or we just don't feel like our vibrant self. And what do we do in such a case? There's no drug you can take for energy or, to feel vibrant. It comes from within yourself. So I put together this seminar, and I have a lot of notes, which I've written down, and you're going to be taking a lot of notes. There's a ton of information in here. So what I suggest is that you write down everything that you want to remember later on, and then post-seminar, you kind of pick the things that you want to put into action right away and organize your notes a little bit. So basically, low energy, according to Ayurveda, is a breakdown of the connection between our body, mind, and consciousness. When that happens, we experience those symptoms I mentioned: fatigue and lethargy, loss of vitality, aches and pains, a feeling of depression. Basically, we have the vital life force that runs through us. And when that vital life force gets blocked or disturbed or depleted, then we tend to fall into this slump. Now that can last a few days, a few hours, but it can last months, and it can last years. And I'll share some of those stories with you. The 4 factors that contribute to this are: number 1, doshas, food, disease, and pranic depletion. So just so I know who my audience is, how many of you are familiar with Ayurveda and the doshas? Raise your hand. Okay, raise high. Okay, all right, good. So about 30% of you. And how many of you have never heard the word dosha? Okay, so I'll explain. So does this look like you or someone you know? Do you feel like you're pulled in all sort of directions all day long? Maybe you're overworked, or you're overcommitted, or you have difficulty setting boundaries, or maybe you procrastinate in making decisions, or maybe it just feels like there's no end point to your day. There's no closing point. It's just that tasks and duties run from day to day and you're always switched on. Or maybe this is more like you. You feel like you are every day just carrying this heavy load of bricks. Maybe you offload these bricks when you go to sleep, but the moment you wake up, that heaviness is back on. Well, day after day, if you're carrying your bricks, you're eventually going to lead to burnout and fatigue. And then maybe you start to rely on supplements or meds or coffee, but eventually those things stop working. And even though you're functioning, you can't really say that you feel vibrant, that you're thriving, that you feel alive and ready for every day. Well, the truth is that most of us are overworked, multitasked, and undernourished. How do we revive the state of being that we once had? And how do we maintain it throughout every day? That's what we are going to learn today. So energy, just according to the dictionary, is the ability to be active. Okay. But vitality is energy squared. It's the power to be active and be successful. Vitality is thriving over surviving. Okay? And that is how Ayurveda measures health. It measures health according to vitality. So before I get into the first part of the seminar, you need to have a little bit of a basic understanding of the three bioenergies within our body. Okay, so you all filled out the quiz. Take it with a grain of salt. It's not the best Ayurvedic quiz out there, but it's the standard by the Ayurvedic guru here in the West, Dr. Vasantlad. So a lot of practitioners use it. Take it with a grain of salt. Add up the total in each column. So how many V's did you check? How many P's and how many K's? And in each line, you should only pick one, either V, P, or K, not more than one. So there may not be an exact match. Okay, just do your best. So add it up. Everybody got a number? Okay, because you'll need your numbers for the next question. If you have answered, let's start with the V's. If you have answered over 20, you got over 20 in the V's, raise your hand. If you got, any of you got 25 in the V's, raise your hand. You did? Okay, can you come forward? And just stand right here for me. And P's, if you got over 20 P's, raise your hand. 1, 2, 25, 23, 22. Okay, come on up. And your name?
Laura.
Laura? Okay, Asma and Laura. Okay, and K's. Anybody get 20 in the K's? 15? 10? The gentleman in the back, come on up. And your name?
Julio.
Julio. Okay, so we have Asma, Laura, and Julio. Okay, we're just going to, you don't have to do anything, we're just going to gaze at you very intensely. Okay, so just to give you a little bit of an understanding of the doshas, the 5 elements of the universe, what are they?
Fire.
Fire,
Water.
water, air, earth, ether. Very good. Now the doshas are a combination of the elements that are predominant in that particular physiology. Okay, so asma here represents our vata type, and the dominant quality in her is air. Okay, so she's probably grew up very thin-boned, loves the warm weather, doesn't like the cold, is very quick, fast-moving, fast-talking, quick to learn, very creative. Okay, that's the quality of air: dry, light, cold, quick. Got it? Laura here represents the pitta dosha. The dominant element is fire. So think of fire: hot, red, spreading, intense. So pitta types are generally fairer skinned, not always. They have rosiness, natural redness in their skin. They may have reddish hair, she does. And they are very analytical and very precise and very methodical. And they're ambitious. They love a challenge. They are often our managers, our leaders, our CEOs. Does any of that ring a bell, Laura?
Not the last few, but...
But the rest.
But much of it does, yeah.
Much of it does. And then the third is our kapha type, Julio. And the kapha type has the dominant element of earth. So think of the earth element as giving structure, stability, form, coolness, and slowness. Okay, so they have very good memories, they're very loyal, they tend to have naturally larger body structures and are larger boned throughout their life. And they tend to take their time. They don't have the need like the vata to rush and get done through everything. They take their time to do things. They think slower, but they retain longer. Does that any of that sound like you, Leo? Yeah, okay. So just for a couple more minutes, I'm gonna have you stay because all of three of you are great representatives of this. Okay, let's move on. So now you have the ideas, right, of the doshas.
So the doshas are the elements of the elements?
The doshas are their, I'll get to it on the next page. It's their primary constitution. Here, we'll explain a little bit more. All of us have all of the 5 elements, okay? But we may be dominant in 1 or 2 of them. And why I bring this up is because there are inherent energy fluctuations naturally just based on your dosha type. Okay, so if you understand that, you're going to know what is norm for you. So we're all born with a certain biological and energetic pattern, okay, known in Ayurveda as our primary constitution or our dosha type. These energy fluctuations according to dosha can be genetic, can be hormonal, can be determined by our lifestyles. Vata types have variable energy. So if you scored a V more than the others, you might be predominantly Vata. Your energy will be variable. That means it comes in bursts. But Vata types can also become overactive and tire easily. And we'll talk about how to manage that. So energy that comes in bursts. Pitta types, like Laura, have abundant energy. And that energy can come out throughout the day, but they tend to have burnout if they become overambitious. And our kapha types have the most endurance and stamina, but they're a little bit, at times, reluctant to expend that energy. Our natural constitution is known as our prakriti. Okay, so we're going to learn 2 words today, prakriti and vikriti. So prakriti it's how we were born. It's our baseline. Okay. So vata types, remember, they're dominant in air, the air quality, so they tend to be quick, they're fast moving, they can do 10 things at once, but they also get restless and anxious when things don't get done on time. They're the most sensitive of all the dosha types. And because of that, they have much more fluctuations in energy. So Vatas need to be very balanced in their day. They have to have periods of activity and they have to have periods of rest or grounding. So in today's society, we're constantly on the go. And if you are strongly in the air element and you don't have the period to rest and ground yourself, it's going to lead to greater fatigue and other symptoms. Pitta types, remember, they have more energy that can sustain them, but they need a time to shut off, not just physically, but mentally as well. They need that shut off time to cool their minds down. Pitta is hot, it's fire, it's heat. Okay, so if they don't take that time to cool, and why, I bet you why Laura is in such good balance is probably she does meditation or some type of this cooling and grounding type of rituals. Learning to. Kapha types, they have good stamina, but they need to push themselves to go longer on their feet. Now we need to understand what happens when we get out of balance. That is called our Vikriti. Vikriti is our current state, and if we're not aligned with our Prakriti, it's our state of imbalance or our disease state. In Ayurveda, Vikriti is the disease state. So when Vata gets aggravated, it gets aggravated when there's too much movement. There's too much movement creating too much air. They are already dominant in the air element, and the air element increases, and through, say, overactivity, running around, multitasking, fast pace of life, overexertion, no grounding. Now what happens is we plant the seeds of Vata-related illness, and that is anxiety, insomnia, joint pain, brain fog, memory loss, constipation, bloating, low back pain. Okay, all related to excess of Vata or excess of that air element. Now, Pitta gets aggravated when there's excess ambition. I want to achieve. I want to get that promotion. I want to make more money. I want my name to be out there. Competitiveness, the need to excel, overachiever, not taking time, all that is fine, but it has to be balanced. So if they're not taking time to cool down that heat, Pitta signs are of disease, cardiovascular issues first, high blood pressure, increased heart rate, skin rashes, acid reflux, anger, irritability, impatience, colitis. So in the digestion, colitis. Kapha gets aggravated when there's too much stagnancy, too much monotony in life, not enough change, slowness or laziness, poor discipline, lack of movement. And the signs of the Kapha excess are weight gain, cholesterol, high cholesterol, depression, growths. Remember, earth and growths, cysts, fibroids, tumors, fatigue. Does everyone see kind of the connection? Okay, thank you so much to our volunteers. Thank you. The next thing that greatly impacts our energy levels is our daily routine. And this is a very big component in Ayurveda. Before we can begin to dive deeper into the causes of fatigue, we need to first know the basics of aligning our lifestyle according to the principles of Ayurveda. The daily routine needs to be observed before an Ayurvedic doctor starts what's called Kaya Chikitsa, or internal medicine. Before I even go into diagnosing or trying to figure out what's going on, my first question is, what's your daily routine? Everything from your sleeping hours, your eating hours, when you work, when you exercise, when you look at the screen, when you meditate. There's a proper time, according to Ayurveda, for every one of these things. Now, you've all heard of circadian rhythms, right? Well, this was discovered by Ayurveda 4,000 years ago, and the West is only now starting to talk about it and realize it. So there are periods of the day that are also governed by those universal elements. So the morning time is the kapha time, it's the time of earth, energy. The afternoon is our fire. That fire element is dominant, right? The sun, fire, is at its highest in the day. And towards the evening, the air element comes in. And everything that we do, all the activities of our day, if we can align them to this chart here, right off the bat, you'll see an improvement in energy and vitality, just with that alone. So the first thing I want to bring up is, well, what is the first activity you would say that would set your energy for the day? The first activity of the day. What would you say it to be? Before that.
Thank God.
Okay, what else? What's the first thing?
Oh, go to the bathroom.
Before that. Even, who said wake up? Wake up. If you wake up during the kapha period, the period of earth energy, earth, that time creates heaviness, sluggishness, and slowness. So if you wake up in the kapha time, you're going to feel that. You're going to feel slow, sluggish, and heavy, regardless of how much sleep you had. You're going to have puffy eyes and puffy face. So this chart says 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. because that's the summer, but we're in winter right now, so that time shifts to 7 a.m. So you need to try and get up before 7 a.m. every day, regardless of when you sleep. Now, right now, you know, conventional wisdom is, you need 8 hours of sleep, but Ayurveda goes one step further and says not only do you need 8 hours, you need 8 hours between 10 to 6. That's the ideal time. So kapha time now follows with the pitta time. And this is fire. So fire means this is your time to be productive during these hours. Run your errands, clean your house, check your emails, respond to emails, have your meetings. Whatever requires the most energy and the most intensity, you do that during the pitta hours. What else do you do when there's heat? And your own personal heat, it is at its highest. Your digestive fire is the brightest. That means you eat your largest meal of the day. If you, especially if you're a pitta type, like Laura, if you skip your meals, you're busy at work and you skip your meals, what's going to happen? Acid reflux. Because you have this burning fire in your stomach, it needs something to cook. Okay, so at least that meal, breakfast can be light, lunch is your biggest meal of the day. And now the vata time. And this is probably the most unused part of the day, because if we can tap into our creative energy during vata period, you will see a difference in your, not only your energy and vitality, but your ability to allow your creative thoughts to flow in anything that you're doing. So right around that vata period, 2 to 6, 3 to 7 p.m., that's when you stop the productivity and you do your focus work. Whether you're working on a project, you're a writer, you're an artist, you're a cook, but the key is you've got to eliminate the distractions. You turn off the phones, you've got to turn off the email, and you say these next 2 hours is my vata time. The element of air comes up, and you will see that no matter what you put your mind to, you will have this expansive thinking and thoughts coming up naturally, and ideas and creativity. But none of us make use of that. We're not. Because what happens is, after 6, 7 p.m., what happens? We go back into the kapha time. So if you're trying to do creative work at night, it's less effective. And during kapha time, it's time to slow down. That's not the time to do intense workouts and exercise. Okay, it's not the time to get back onto your computers and do, mentally heavy work. It's the time to rest and relax and enjoy. Do something that you love to do, talk with friends, socialize, very easy and light, because that takes you into sleep period, and your sleeping improvement will improve greatly. Exercise is a must. Okay, we all know that. Our bodies were designed to move. So it's non-negotiable. Movement, exercise, whatever you want to call it, non-negotiable. But exercise should leave you feeling happy, revitalized, and energized. It should not leave you feeling exhausted and depleted. It shouldn't be a grueling experience. And in fact, if it does, it's probably causing more harm than good. And I want to bring this up because there's so many people doing the exercise that's really not suited for them. So for example, if you're a Pitta type and you're already naturally hot with fire, you shouldn't be doing hot yoga. You're probably uncomfortable when you do it, but you're pushing yourself because you hear about all these, benefits from it. But it's not for you. Hot yoga is great for a Vata type. And Vata types, if you're doing HIIT exercise or these very intense workouts at the gym, it's going to leave you feeling very depleted. And it's going to bring increased air and dryness in your body, and it's going to affect your joints. For a kapha type, it's great. HIIT exercise, aerobics, more intensity, kaphas are great. Pitta types need something a little bit more challenging where their mind is involved. So they do really well in outdoor sports, in hiking. Swimming is great. But for Vata types, look at your gentler exercise, walking, yoga. Hatha yoga in itself is an ideal exercise movement for all types, for everybody, because it's holistic in itself. Now we're going to talk about what to do when we all experience periods of being frazzled, from that excess movement, the constant of every day. What is the opposite of the air element? It's the earth element. Let's say you have a crazy week, okay? You have deadlines at work, emails, calls, evening activities, you're rushing here and there, and on the weekend you have events to attend, you have family engagements, you feel exhausted. So you think, well, I'll just go to sleep, sleep for a long time and I'll get up and I'll feel okay, but you really don't. Because what happens is, remember I described that vayu increases. That doesn't come down with just 8 to 10 hours of sleep or a weekend off. Right then and there, it starts planting the seeds of illness. So what we have to do is balance that excess air by pulling it down into the earth, grounding ourselves with that earth energy. Okay, that is the real solution. So how can we do that? Here, I've suggested a few things. Number one, deep breathing during your meditation practice or through pranayama, and especially when you're breathing, feeling the earth. Abhyanga, has anyone heard of Abhyanga? It's an ancient Ayurvedic practice of simply taking warm sesame oil and rubbing it all over your body, massaging your body with warm sesame oil and leaving it on for about an hour or so. Walking in nature, being around trees, walking barefoot, not today. Walking barefoot on the morning grass is very good for connecting to earth energy. If you go to the beach, walking on the sand, in fact, next time you go to the beach, just put your whole body in the sand, because the sand has the ability to extract EMFs in your body very wonderfully. So you come out of the sand and you'll feel very refreshed. Mantras, chanting. and then the grounding meditation. So grounding meditation is very easy, it's very simple. You can do it anywhere. For example, right now, you feel your feet in the ground, and you close your eyes, and you start to imagine that your feet are connected to the Mother Earth, and there are roots coming out of your feet chakras and going deep inside the earth. And you inhale, and you feel that cool, calm earth energy coming up into your body and spreading throughout. And as you exhale, you take all your worries, tensions, anxieties, and let them ride on the wave of your breath back down through your feet, dissolving into the earth. And then again, breathing in cooling, calming earth energy into your body. And exhaling all that you don't need back down into the earth. So you can just see how a minute of that, just makes you feel a little bit more grounded, right? One of the signs that you need grounding, that you're at that point, is craving for food. Because food has the earth energy in it. So you want to pay attention that when you're eating, are you eating to kind of console yourself or to get a moment of peace and quietness? That's a sign that you have excess of air and you need to ground. All right, that's part one. So now we're going to go into the foods that affect our energy. And you can kind of observe, how much of these foods are you getting into your diet. So for good energy, of course, we need to have a sufficient amount of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that our body requires us, needs of us in order to function. So that's a given. But there are nutrients that are essential for high energy and for stamina. And this is for anybody who occasionally suffers from fatigue. I want you to first look at what are the foods that you're eating. And right now what's becoming very popular is a high protein diet and a keto diet. And while there are some purported benefits of that, namely weight loss, there are side effects. And that is that you're missing out on these complex carbohydrates and fibers that contribute to energy and sustenance. And so I personally don't feel that it's right for us to cut out healthy carbs completely, and certainly not fiber. And iron and vitamin C is essential. I'm going to touch on that on another slide because it's so important. And here I've listed for you to just take a picture of the top 10 foods that are specifically for energy. So you could take a picture. We won't go into the details. I think all of you are familiar with these health foods.
How is the lentils? Dietary? Is that how it's
Yes.
pronounced?
Yes. Please ask me that at the end. I want to talk about khichdi. Excellent to incorporate into your regular daily routine, your meal routine. So I'll take questions at the end, but definitely ask me about khichdi. So this here, I've compiled this list. These are Ayurvedic meals. The names may not be familiar to you. You can Google them or you can email me afterwards, and I'll provide you with recipes. But these are excellent for all dosha types, and especially during this season. So in Ayurveda, we eat according to the season. Right? It is winter. We would not eat foods that have too much air element, like raw foods. You wouldn't catch an Ayurvedic or Indian person eating raw foods right now. excess air, too much cold. Summer, yes. So these are all heating, warming, nourishing, grounding foods. Oops. Well, I was supposed to ask you a question, which was going to lead into this, and that is, what do we all depend on for energy? Coffee. Well, we need to be alert. It's quick energy. It tastes good.
Love it.
I love it too. It's easy to prepare, so why not, right? After all, we're waking up tired because we're getting up during the kapha period. We need to get through the day. We need our caffeine. I just want to touch on a couple points about coffee in case it relates to you or somebody that you know. A lot of us drink coffee. A startling fact is that a typical cup of coffee is, God bless you, 100 milligrams of caffeine. A tall, which is the smallest size of a Starbucks coffee, is 2.5 times that much caffeine. And Indian black tea also is 2.5 times that of regular, natural, loose tea. So if you take loose black tea like Darjeeling, it has 40 milligrams of caffeine. But if you drink that Indian chai that comes from the Indian stores, it's 120 milligrams. It's just as much as coffee, if not more. So my question to you is for you to just think about is there a dependency? Now, while coffee may have certain health benefits, right? It has a temporary boost in energy and performance. The problem happens when you drink it every day. There's a change in your brain function during the periods when you don't have caffeine moving through your body. So it's not the caffeine, it's when you don't have the caffeine that it affects your mood, it affects your performance, and it affects your sleep. And I say this because there are many people who suffer from low-level fatigue chronically as a result of long-term caffeine use, and they don't realize that it's because of coffee consumption. So if you have any of these symptoms, okay, I strongly suggest that you slowly reduce your intake of caffeine and then stop altogether for a period of time while you're under an Ayurvedic protocol until your symptoms resolve. And one thing very important, remember I said Vata? The Vata types are the most sensitive. You cannot heal any Vata-related disorder while consuming caffeine. Again, you're not going to hear this from any doctor. Vata-related disorders, you'll see that on one of my next slides, but anything involving the nervous system, neurological system, there's just no option there. But I'm not saying stop having your coffee. I'm saying drink it to enjoy it, but not because you need it. There's a difference. And not every day.
Wait, what?
Not every day. Not every day. Because the body's just gonna, even though your intentions might be good to enjoy your morning coffee, the body builds a dependency on it. So mix it around. So what I do is I love the taste of coffee. I'll have a cup of coffee, but the next 3 days I drink matcha, which has caffeine, but that caffeine is much better tolerated within our bodies. It doesn't have the same dependency type effects as coffee caffeine. So just mix it up. You know, sometimes you have turmeric milk or something like that. Okay. Now, so you might be thinking, okay, I'm going to give up my coffee. Great, what's going to happen to me? I'm going to fall apart. I'm not going to be able to think. Well, now I'm going to talk to you about some amazing Ayurvedic herbs that will do an even better job than your caffeine kick. How many of you have heard about these herbs? You've heard the names, okay. These are phenomenal herbs in the Ayurvedic pharmacopoeia. Absolutely amazing herbs because they're not just energy and vitality, but they're for your entire well-being and for achieving optimal health. They are known as rasayanas. Has anyone heard of rasayana? Have you heard of adaptogen? Yeah. The adaptogen word was adopted from Ayurveda, the word rasayana, which means is these herbs have the ability to help you adapt to change, help you adapt to stress, which is constantly around us, right? So they are very powerful. They are very mild and gentle. They work over time. They work with consistency, and you can take them almost like a multivitamin. But here is the but. And this is what you're not going to see on the internet, is that these also have properties of the doshas, the 5 elements. So ashwagandha has a lot of fire, it has a lot of heat. So if you're a pitta person, should you be taking ashwagandha alone? No. Oh no. Skin rashes, loose stools, diarrhea. Shatavari is cooling. Brahmi is cooling. If you're a vata person and you just go online and you read about Brahmi and you're like, oh, I'm having memory difficulties, so let me just start taking Brahmi, and you're a naturally cold person, it's not going to help you. So what an Ayurvedic practitioner does is we look at your prakriti, we look at your vikriti, your current state, and we create the formula that's going to align with your what you're experiencing today, your conditions, your symptoms, your habits, and we prepare the right formula. And I'm only saying this because I see people come in with, I'm taking ashwagandha and I don't know why I'm having all these problems. And I say, well, you need to stop ashwagandha. But when you combine ashwagandha with the cooling herbs, as I've done here, its effects are it's just wonderful. So I've given a general formula how to take these herbs. You can take a picture of that, but if you are currently suffering from any condition, then I highly advise that you see an Ayurvedic practitioner first before taking them. Basically, don't rely on Google. Yeah, surprise. Again, I'll jot down your questions. Okay, now we're going to talk about disease and how it affects our energy. The most common case that we see at our clinic, probably several every single day, is the person who has a list of symptoms with fatigue, sometimes severe, as the predominant issue. It's the classic case of mystery illness, okay, where the patient has seen numerous doctors. They've probably run every kind of lab test out there, only to be told at the end of the day that all of this is in their head and they need to see a psychiatrist, which they do, and the psychiatrist then puts them on antidepressants. When I see them, they come into our center, the first thing they feel is relief when I tell them that, no, you are sick, you do have an imbalance. They're like, oh, thank God, somebody sees that, because I thought I was going crazy. The second thing that they show is hope that there's something I can do, and I don't have to take prescription drugs, and I don't have to see more doctors or run more tests. These are very, very typical symptoms in several of our clients, and the Western medicine won't give any known cause, but they are sure to jump to a diagnosis. And these are some of the labels. I'm so glad to see so many of you, nodding your head in agreement, because these are the labels that you'll get if you have some of those symptoms. Chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia, IBS, depression, chronic anxiety disorder, even Lyme's disease. I've seen false diagnosis of Lyme's disease. So I want to give you an example of the chronic fatigue syndrome. And this is how the medical community defines it. This is, it's characterized by profound tiredness regardless of bed rest. It's very, very real. I want to give you an example of a 12-year-old boy who came to see me about 2 years ago, brought in by his mother. His name was Dylan. And this 12-year-old boy was born with no health issues, vibrant, thriving kid, until his mom started noticing in the past year he'd been developing fatigue, and now it had gotten so bad that he had difficulty going to school. And it's not that he wanted to lie in bed all day, it's that he didn't have enough muscle energy to even stand or, go to the store with his mom. And everywhere I pressed on his body, his entire body was tender. And he would, ouch, ouch, everywhere. I took his pulse, and I questioned a lot. Everything was fine. No family trauma, nothing like that. They ate well. I took his pulse, and I found that there was a very severe pranic depletion. And so I started asking him, what is he being exposed to? So there were no power lines or anything crazy like that. So I said, he's sending his pranic energy out away from him in huge amounts. So I'm thinking, okay, young kid, screen time, how much time are you spending on your device, YouTube, TV? He said, no. And then I said, how many hours of video games are you playing? I didn't ask him if he played video games. I said, how many hours of video games are you playing? And he said, 6 to 8 hours every day. And his mom was like, yeah, 6 to 8 hours every day. Not thinking that that would be the source of the problem. So all I did was tell the mother, explain to her why this resulted in what he was experiencing, and that I just gave him the protocol of stopping the video games. You need to take these herbals to nourish and rebuild up your nervous system, and come to my yoga class with your mom. Come and do the yoga asanas and do the pranayama. And the boy was so motivated. I gave him 6 months, but within 3 months, 80% of him was back to normal. The remaining 20%, he could notice the triggers. He could see how his certain activities would bring his fatigue back on. So I said, it's going to take another 3 months. So it's funny because his mom wouldn't come in and tend the yoga. She would drop him off and he would do the yoga, but he was very regular about it. And within 6 months, he was back to normal. The other case I want to share with you is because it's right down the street. A girl, 32 years old, African American, right here on Georgia Avenue. She called our office, asked for an appointment, and said her fatigue was so bad she couldn't come into my office. So I said, okay. She described her symptoms, and I said, I'm going to come to your house. So I went to her house. She's lying in bed. It's the middle of the day. I sit next to her on her bed, and I said, stand up for me. So she went like this. And I said, let go, and she went 3 seconds. She could only stand for 3 seconds. So I said, what's your diagnosis? And she said, they gave me, chronic fatigue syndrome. And I took her pulse, and she had excess of vata, and she had a very diminished kapha. And just through experience, I knew that this could be related to her thyroid. So I palpated on her thyroid, and she said, ouch, I feel sensitivity. I did a couple of other tests, and I said, I think you have hyperthyroidism. And she didn't have enough energy to go to doctors or do any more tests. So I just put her on my protocol for hyperthyroidism. Within 1 month, she was able to walk to the bathroom by herself and come back. Within 3 months, she was getting up and cooking. But within 6 months, her as well, she had about 80% recovery of all her energy back. And this is astonishing because it's happening in our youth. So we really need to be aware of what we're being exposed to and how it's affecting us energetically. If you have a few of these symptoms along with major fatigue, or anyone you know, you might get diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome. But in Ayurveda, there is no such disease. Ayurveda views this as a related set of symptoms being a result of a severe vata imbalance. And what I, as a practitioner, what I look for is the root cause of that imbalance. That could be your lifestyle, it could be nutrient deficiencies, past trauma, hormonal imbalance, prolonged stress. It could be any of the above. But that's what we want to get to. Whereas if you Google CFS, okay, on the very first page of Google, this is what you're going to see. You all know this very well website, okay? Look at the top two in bold. That is the advice that it gives you if you have chronic fatigue syndrome. Take sleep aids. Take pain relievers. Take antimicrobials and take antidepressants. This is very scary. In fact, Ayurveda would say this is exactly what not to do. So if you know anybody who's in such a situation, please research how the drugs work, and you'll realize that there's absolutely no cure for those symptoms on the previous page with these drugs. I could give an entire seminar on that alone, but let's move on. The second thing I want to do is I want to look at, let's evaluate any deficiencies. Before we move on to big stuff and have you doing all these kind of herbal regimens and protocols, let me just see where you're at with your nutrients. These are common deficiencies that I see. And perhaps some of them ring a bell with you too. But what I want to mention here is that the lab tests of today are not that sensitive. They're not very reliable in telling you if you have a deficiency, even though you're testing for it. Okay, so for example, iron. I see so many women walking around who are so anemic, but they don't know it because their blood test, standard blood test, hemoglobin came out normal. But when I tell them to go back and take an iron sensitive or a ferritin test, it is devastatingly low. And I almost have to ask them that, how did your physician let you walk out of the office? I mean, you have so many symptoms. You have severe fatigue, your hair is falling out, your hands and feet are cold. I can clearly see the paleness in your lips, and your doctor's telling you you're fine. I mean, it is just a crime. So if you are a menstruating woman, if you are on a strict vegetarian or vegan diet, if you have family history of anemia, or you just feel some of the symptoms that I mentioned, please make sure you get more than just your annual test. You get an iron sensitive, you get a ferritin test. A ferritin tests your iron stores, okay? You all know why iron is important, right? Because the hemoglobin, right, carries oxygen to your cells, and you need iron for that. Now, the other one is the B vitamins. B vitamins, what they do is they convert nutrients into energy. And all the B vitamins work together. So even if you're deficient in just one, you could be experiencing a number of symptoms like related to your neurology and anemia, insomnia, pain. That could all be related to a B vitamin, and the one that I see most frequent is the B12. Here's the other problem with the lab test. Will show you your B12 number, but the range is wrong. It says that if you have a B12 of 200 or 250, you're in normal. You're not. You need over 500 to be in the normal range. Okay, so if you're, B12 comes mostly from animal products and from meat. So again, if you're on a vegetarian or vegan diet, you need to be supplementing with B12. And we can talk about that at the end too, on how to do that safely. So magnesium, if you are on any meds, prescription meds, you can assume that you're deficient in magnesium, because that's a side effect of medications. Here are 6 common illnesses. So after I look at nutrient deficiencies, I start to think, well, maybe they're suffering from an undiagnosed illness. or they were wrongly diagnosed. So here are the 6 most common that are linked to fatigue. Maybe you've had a diagnosis of one of these, or maybe you have this disease and you don't know it, and you're wondering why you're suffering from low energy or some of those other symptoms. The first 3 here are recognized in Ayurveda. Okay, Panduroga, anemia. Galaganda Roga is hypothyroidism. And Prameha is diabetes. So those are recognized, and there are very clear protocols in Ayurveda. But the second 3 are generally classified as dosha imbalances, not exactly diseases, and they are the result of an accumulation of toxins in our body. Those toxins are known in Ayurveda as ama. Okay. Ama in our body is a sticky substance. So once you have ama, it starts to accumulate by sticking to other pathogens, bacteria, viruses, or even things that you're putting into your body. And it will start to create inflammation. Inflammation, pain, and fatigue. So our protocol for those last 3 is to try and reduce the inflammation by getting rid of the toxins. And that is where doing a seasonal cleanse comes in. And this is a big part of any Ayurvedic program. It's kind of like how we deep clean our houses and our cars every now and then. We need to deep clean our inner bodies. So we deep clean on a spiritual level through meditation. We deep clean on an energetic level through pranayama. And we deep clean on a physical level through cleansing and detoxifying herbals that are given. And generally a detox would be 10, 15, or 30 days, depending on your goals and your current condition. So we advise that everybody do a cleanse twice a year at the change of the seasons. And I have personally seen, we offer the program twice a year, spring and fall. And I have seen miracles from people who had debilitating autoimmune illnesses. I told them do nothing else but start the detox. And after 30 days, what they report, even I get surprised over and over at the results. It entails, as I said, you'll get an herbal regimen, and then there's a lifestyle routine you have to follow for that period of time, and a fixed diet. It's kind of like a mono diet, and that's where the lady asked about khichdi. It's a lot of khichdi, but I promise you would love it. It's a combination of rice and lentils. Very nourishing, very warming, and very grounding. So for more information, I don't have time to talk about that here, but if you want more information, you have the flyer of our website. You can go on the website and you can take a look at that, what it entails, and our next one is starts in March. Now prana. Our bodies are just the manifestation of the blueprint of our energetic being. Right? We all know that. So all disease is rooted deeply into our spirit. So if we don't correct and give attention and love to our spirit, we cannot heal on a physical level. One who has abundant prana radiates vitality. Prana is our life force. The human body is sustained by the same prana that permeates the entire universe. It's the power behind every movement within and without us. And the body has the ability to control this movement of energy through special breathing techniques called pranayama. When our prana becomes depleted, as in the case of the little boy and the woman, when the prana becomes depleted, our vitality goes with it. Every disease at its root is due to pranic depletion or some sort of blockage. And we need to address that first and foremost. So here is a list which probably all of you know already, but I want to just bring it back to the front of your eyes so you can kind of think about how much you're exposed to these activities. There are depleting activities, and then there are very depleting activities. I had a male client once in his 30s. He had a full, thick head of hair, but he had developed alopecia areata, which are patches of bald spots around the head. It's more typical in women. Again, when I checked his pulse, severe pranic depletion. So I started asking him that, otherwise healthy, all his organs were healthy, good diet, exercise, no other issue in the pulse. And I said, I know he's being exposed to something. I said, where do you work? He said, I work in a doctor's office. I said, are they x-ray machines or anything like that? He said, no. I said, how long have you been working there? He said, 1 year. I said, where did you work before that? And he said that for 11 years prior to that, he had worked in a laboratory where there were radiation machines, but they weren't next to him. He said there were several offices down. But it doesn't matter, because radiation, those waves don't see walls. So most of us aren't going to have that kind of problem, but I do want to put out to you how depleting negative thoughts are and negative people are. Sometimes we can't run away from the negative people in our life, but we have to learn internally of how to deal with that. How can we control our own thoughts to deal with the negative people around us, to convert the negativity into something positive? And here's what we can do to increase prana, which we have to do every single day. There are prana increasing activities, and then there are very increasing activities. Right at the top, just filling your heart with love, compassion, and gratitude. Karma yoga, selfless service. What so many of the sisters are doing here at this organization is volunteering their time just to give back. If you find something like that in your life, a way to selflessly serve, doesn't have to be an organization. It can be selflessly serving someone in your family. It can be serving your own self. Sometimes I have cases where the person is too fragile and too sensitive to almost everything, that they can't even take the Ayurvedic herbals. Their body's too sensitive, or their Agni is too weak. I've had people who are limited to such few foods because their body reacts to everything. And sometimes there are family obligations where they can't make lifestyle changes. I simply tell them to do a yoga practice, pranayama, and meditation. And that's it. And they will see healing just from that. Just recently, middle of last year, I had a young woman from Pakistan. She came to see me because she had a polyp on her vocal cord. She was maybe 30 years old, trying to start a family. And she didn't come to see me to get rid of the polyp because her surgeon had said it was not possible. There's no way you can remove the polyp. So she came to me to ask, what can I do after my surgery to recover my voice? So I gave her that advice. And I'm not one to impose my beliefs on another, because we all have our own journeys and our destinies. So maybe it's in her destiny to have the surgery. But I waited for that question, hoping in my heart she would ask me, what's your opinion on my surgery? And at the end of the meeting, she did. She said, Dr. Jain, do you think I should have this surgery? And I said, if it was me, I would try other means. And I believe that you can heal your polyp. So she said, okay. She said, but I'm doing everything. I can't possibly change anything in my diet, and I'm taking the few herbs that you recommended. So I gave her a light meditation. And I said, just meditate on light coming into this chakra, Vishuddha chakra, dissolving your polyp. And she did that. She went for 1 month. Her voice got better. She did it for 1 month. Her voice got better. She hadn't gone in for her scan, but her voice got better. this was middle of last year. She put off the surgery. She wanted to give this time, and she came into our center to do energy healing. And I got an email from her over New Year's, and she said, Dr. Jain, Happy New Year, and by the way, my polyp is gone. So, if anyone, I am a full believer in the power of your own mind and spirit to heal. And that leads me to my very last couple of slides. Emotion has a huge impact on our energy, because emotion is just energy in motion. And look at what emotion does in our body. So this was done by a number of students at a university. They did some scans, and they tested various different emotional states and what happens inside the body. And look at the difference. When you have depression, where do you feel the weakness? Blue indicates the weakness or coldness or lack of feeling. It's not just in your heart. In fact, your heart is fine in depression. It's your muscles, your musculoskeletal system. So when a person feels depressed, they feel weakness in their legs, in their arms, and in their heads. When there's sadness, it's very similar, but you also have heightened emotions in the heart center. Look at when you're neutral. It's not enough just to avoid being sad or down or avoid negative emotions. That's not helping us any. What we have to do is to imbibe the qualities of love, happiness, and I'm sure gratitude would be off the charts too, because look what happens in our body with love and with happiness.
It has been shown to increase the release of dopamine, the body's natural favorite chemical. Dopamine contributes to the
It's the definition of happiness.
Oh my God.
That was beautiful. So it energizes every cell of our being. And when we put our mind to these emotions every single day, in the morning, love and joy, in the evening, gratitude for our day, we will heal and we will overcome. So fill yourself with prana every day. And now that's it. I know that was a lot to absorb. I'm happy to take questions, and I'm also very happy to be there for all of you who need to, talk to me about anything that's going on, or clarify, or give guidance. This is my contact information. On the flyers, I want to give you my email. It says info@Vedic Health. You can write down my email, with this ajain@vedichealth.org. Our center is not too far from here. It's off Shady Grove Road. Yes.
I'm just curious, what are your thoughts on acupuncture and,
Yeah.
well, let me hear that first.
Yeah.
If you
Um,
recommend anyone in the area.
Yeah, no, the principles behind acupuncture are very similar. They believe in the 5 elements and the certain points in the body where energy can be blocked. So acupuncture is very good in opening those blockages, especially when it comes to pain, numbness. Acupuncture can do wonders. So I do feel that it's a good therapy.
Magnesium. Magnesium causes cramps in my body. I'm wondering, should it be taken with something? Should I not be taking it?
What's your reason for taking it?
Physical activities, thinking that, oh, I'll take this so that I don't have the cramps. And what happens? I get the cramps.
Okay.
I think, is the amount too much? Should
Well-
it be taken with something else?
What type of magnesium are you taking?
Whatever's sold in the vitamin store.
Okay, that could be one thing. So you might want to try high quality magnesium citrate. You could start with that and start with a lower dose. Start with 200 milligrams. Try to get magnesium from foods. You know, get a list of foods with magnesium and try that as well. It could be a simple thing as like having a banana before you go to bed or something like that. That could help resolve it. So I suggest magnesium as a supplement only if you're taking meds. Otherwise, I would say get it through foods. Nuts, you take nuts, have cashews.
Have also been told just recently by a friend that I was taking citrate, the kind, but she says there's different kinds and it depends on the kind, so anyways.
Yes.
I guess when I see you, you will tell me.
Yes, I'll be happy to. Yes. It's very confusing, the nutraceutical world. Yes. I have had times people come in who, just a couple weeks ago, I said to the lady, she was coming in for a first visit, I said, can you bring, she said, I'm taking some supplements. I said, can you bring them with you? My entire desk was covered with vitamins, minerals, probiotics, nutraceuticals, and I completely got her off everything except 3 things. So there is such a thing as taking too much. You know, they're heating, nutraceuticals are heating. And what is the organ in our body that is hot? Anybody know? Take a guess. Intuitive. Liver. Liver's hot. So you take a ton of nutraceuticals, it's going to overheat your liver.
Because the combination of the chemistry of those things, if you don't know,
That's right.
can be bad for you.
Yes.
Super bad.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I've had people sick because of nutraceuticals, too. Any other questions? Yes, see you in the back, sir. Julio.
Yes, thank you very much. It's great presenter. I have probably 2 questions in one. The first one is, in the assessment that you provided, and thank you very much for the seminar again, can a person be in 2 doshas? In other words, like, you know, it happened to me, just the majority was on the 3rd one, so I'm curious about it. The second question is regarding, you mentioned the devices, the microwave, and things like that. Thank you for bringing that up. Personally, I haven't used a microwave in a while because I noticed that the sensibility of it was affected. So my question is, but again, there's so many frequencies out there that we're not aware of. So how's Ayurveda dealing with it? You know, in the market there are devices, and we're this, and we're that, it's stuff the energy. So what else can we do about it?
Yeah, such a good question. And I think I one day should do a seminar on just that, because there's so much we can do, and the knowledge isn't out there. So for your first question, absolutely. Most people will fall, it's a spectrum, so most people will have more than one dominant dosha, dual doshic, and tridoshic. You could be all 3. Again, the quiz I gave you is not a very good one. There's a better one on our website, vedichealth.org. At the footer, you'll see dosha quiz. Or even better than that, just come in to see one of us, and we can evaluate exactly your dosha, prakriti, and vikriti. So yes, you could be too. In terms of the second question, not only is there a lot we can do, but we absolutely have to be mindful. So one is what I call a digital detox. It's a period of time where you actually turn off in your homes Wi-Fi's and, you know, keep your cell phone connected somewhere in case you need to make a call, but take it off your body. I also would say, as much as possible, get off those watches. I know they're very helpful, but as somebody who practices energy, yoga, and pranayama, I put the watch on because I like to go for long walks and not carry the phone, and I actually felt its effect within my energy body, and I couldn't wear it. Same thing happened for my husband who's sitting here. So whatever we can avoid, let us do. The second thing is there are certain herbals, some of them which I mentioned here, which help to lower the impact of the EMFs on us by helping to nourish the nervous system. It's our nervous system that gets affected. And ashwagandha, brahmi, shatavari, licorice, all the ones that I gave you are superb for that.
You mentioned grounding, putting your feet in the sand, that sand is an excellent absorber of EMF waves. What about trees or anything
Yes.
like that? Okay.
Yes, trees, walking in the forest, having plants in your home is very good. Plants, and certain plants too, which I don't know off the top of my head, but I know they're very good plants to have around. You should have one at your desk if you have a computer screen. There are screens also that can block EMFs, lower, reduce EMFs. If you don't have that, you can put a plant next to your desk and that will do the work. You will notice that if there are high EMFs in your home, the plant will die, will not survive. The other thing you can do, which I have, is an EMF reader. So you can buy this reader on Amazon and move it to parts of your house, especially if you live in like an apartment building and you're not sure, where all the equipment is.
Because somebody's wall next door could be.
Yes.
I didn't even think.
That's right, because EMFs don't see walls. So you take the EMF reader and you'll know. Now, it's a good or bad, because what if you can't control it? Now it's going to bother you, you're going to lose sleep over it. And then you're going to get sick from that. So,
I know this is a complicated question, so I need your thoughts. So for those of us who have been, seeing Western doctors for a while, have sort of our regime, how much can we work with you in terms of like a complement? How much does it have to be, moving, strictly towards this Ayurveda only? Any thoughts about, and those of us who are also thinking, what would make us better or worse candidates for adopting this, this path of medicine?
again, another very good question, But I want to clarify, and then I'm going to answer. To be perfectly honest, Ayurveda is being kind of sold as a complementary medicine in the West. It's not a complementary medicine. It is its own system of medicine. And the allopathy and Ayurveda work in very different ways, which you all know. Okay, allopathy is going this way and Ayurveda is going this way. We can find parts of Ayurveda that can complement a regimen of conventional medicine, but we can't guarantee results. Because let me just give you an example. I have people who come in to see me, they're on biologics, right? Because they have such enormous amounts of inflammation in their body. And so they've been put on these injections that they have to take forever. Some people come in and say, I want to stay on the shots because it controls my pain, but I want to complement. So we'll complement with oil therapies, panchakarma, yoga, pranayama, daily routine, lifestyle. We'll do all that. But we're not going to say that you're going to heal from your illness. I have some people come to see me that say, I don't want to take the shots anymore. And Ayurveda, in certain cases, can cure the illness where the injections were just trying to mediate the symptoms. Because Western medicine, it's like if you have a garden of weeds, Western medicine is not pulling out the weeds, right? It's putting a blanket over it and saying, listen, I'm going to let you function through your life because I know you got to get to work, you got to do things, you got to function, you can't live through pain. So I'm going to hide all the weeds and let you see the flowers. But Ayurveda says, but your disease is still there under the blanket and it's actually getting worse and worse. So I'm sorry, I got to pull the blanket out and slowly, it's going to take time, but I'm going to pull out every weed. So that is why the two are inherently different, but there can be some overlap. So what we do is if you come in to see us and you are already on meds, we will ask you what your goals are. And we will work with that. And we will always work with your physician. I don't mean to downplay any doctors. I think doctors are well-meaning and good. But what I'm trying to do is to try and educate you to ask the right questions and make the right decisions for yourself. Otherwise, you would have been brainwashed like my own dad, thinking that his kidney was going to die in 3 years had he not done anything.
Just a quick question on fasting, and I know you mentioned the cleanse with the change of the seasons. Is that something that gets incorporated into that cleanse?
There is not a complete fast. It's like an elimination diet. But I'd like to address fasting. Intermittent fasting, wonderful again for certain types of people, for certain dosha types. Not for the vata type, and not for the symptoms that you saw up here that were vata related. Instead, you do an altered diet where it's more warm, nourishing, and grounding foods for the nervous system as opposed to cutting out food. Because food, remember, food gives us the earth energy. So if we have too much air and we're eliminating earth, then we have more air, we're just getting sicker. So really have to be careful too, just getting onto a fast, unless you really know what you're doing. Fasting can really drastically change our digestive system as well. So you need to have strong Agni to be able to fast.
Just what do you feel about organite and sea moss, bladderwrack, and burdock?
Sea moss, bladderwrack, burdock root.
And organite.
So those don't fall under the Ayurvedic list of herbs, so I can only tell you what I have heard. I'm not the authority on those herbs. Bladderwrack, I've heard very good for Graves' disease, hyperthyroidism. And the last one, you said sea moss and burdock root, yeah. I wouldn't know. I'm not the person for that. Well, I want to thank all of you so much for coming out this afternoon, and I had a great time with you all. I would love to get to know each of you better.
Thank you. Thank you.